But it's Wednesday at noon, which means our friend Brian Baldinger joins us. And Baldy, we know you have thoughts on this defense. We want to get them out of you. We saw the tweet yesterday of Travis Kelce just sort of waltzing his way around the zones in the Bears defense. What do you make of all that right now? Because it's a tough watch right now.
It is tough. It's hard to just sit in the film room and watch it because, to me, when you game plan for a team, like I always feel like offense or defense, like what defensively, what do you want to take away? What don't you want to beat you? We know Travis Kelce is that guy in Kansas City. Third down, red zone, when you need a play, that's where Mahomes is looking. I mean, we've been watching it now for 6 years. So to see Travis Kelce with easy free releases, and I know he's emotional a lot, and it's not like you can just jam him, but you're just going to play the zone, and you're just not – it's not like they're ignoring him, but they're just playing their zone defense. All right, we're expanding, we're getting to our places. Nobody's taking anything away. They're not blitzing. They're not manning up. They're not changing their look. They're not giving them something they haven't seen. They're dropping into these zones, and Mahomes just carving them up. And that was what the most disappointing thing is. The touchdown is like, it's coming. You know where they want to go. And like nobody is plastering them. Nobody's giving them any extra attention. And it's just too easy. And to me, defense, forget about personnel. And we know that they're challenged personnel-wise. You still have to maximize your personnel saying, all right, this isn't going to beat me. Mahomes isn't going to have all day. Travis Kelce's not going to have a free release. Those kind of things should be basic to a game plan, and I didn't see it.
So there's so many things to touch on here, but let's just start with the taking something away part. If you're a team, Baldy, that can't get to the quarterback, are you going to – I mean, Matt Eberflus mentioned today sometimes we're going to have to send 5, sometimes we'll have to send 6. Would you do that more, or would you sit back? Like, what part of their strategy would you change first?
Well, I'd be more aggressive. I'd just be more aggressive. Like, I understand teams are afraid to blitz Mahomes because of his ability just to see breakdowns or openings or whatever. But the worst is just because he's not going to miss if you just let him. If you go to the state fair with Patrick Mahomes, he's getting you the biggest teddy bear. He's going to knock down all the milk cartons unless you sort of challenge him in some way. So, like, yes, you have to change up. Everybody has – like, I'm watching zero blitzes across the league, more than I've ever seen, where they're just challenging, saying, okay, we know it's a passing league. Let's see if the quarterback can find the open receiver. Can the receiver get open? Let's see what the route combination is. Like, you've got to change something up. And so to your question, yeah, you've got it. What Matt said was what they should have done. All right, this isn't working. This clearly isn't working. It's 14-0. Let's change up. Let's see if we can apply some pressure, whatever that might. Zone pressure, double A gap, mug gap. Let's go back to Briggs and Urlacher and put them in the A gaps. And let's challenge them. You got to do something, but you can't sit back like they did and just let him find these wide open receivers.
Yeah, stat I keep bringing up here the last few days that stands out to me, and I'll share them with you. Matt Bowen put out the highest zone rate coverage in the league is by the Bears at 73.6%, and a pressure rate of only 19.6%. So you say let's dial up the blitz, but doesn't that mean that they need to get – I mean, the predication of this defense is to be in zone, but doesn't that mean if you're going to blitz that you need to start moving to man coverage a little more?
Yes, it does, because let's face it. I mean, these teams that want to play this particular type of cover 2 zone, that Matt played in Indianapolis. I mean, he had DeForest Buckner, and he had some elite rushers, in Indianapolis. And he had some elite corners. Right now, if you don't have a front 4 outside of Yannick Ngakoue, and it's like hit or miss with Yannick, but you don't have a guy that can just win one-on-ones that can, that you don't have Chris Jones. You don't have one of these monsters up front, so if you're going to play zone behind it, you typically said, okay, we're going to play that because our front 4 can control and get after the quarterback. I mean, most of the great defenses in this business right now, if you look at what they're doing in Cleveland or Philadelphia, they're built around a stout and talented front 4 where you could mix your coverages. You could play your zone and your umbrellas. You're not going to get beat over the top, but your front 4 is going to dominate the game. And the Bears aren't built like that. They haven't put their resources in there. And so it's a good, it's an idea if you have Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith to come after the quarterback, or I'm just picking Cleveland, but I could pick Philadelphia, I could pick Dallas, I could pick some of these other teams that have an elite front four. They don't have that. And so it's hard to sit there and play zone if the quarterback's going to have time to, check his Snapchat back there, to figure out where he wants to go.
Baldy, the Bears have 2 games coming up here in a very short amount of time because after they play the Broncos, they got a Thursday game. I think it's a very crucial few days here for Matt Eberflus. And here's where I'm going with this. His message, it's one thing to have this message to the media, which is we're close. Okay, everybody's watching the tape. I don't know how close you really are, but it's another to say that to your team, and it sure sounds like with the way the players have gotten up there to the podium, Justin Fields just did this too, that seems to be the message even inside the building. Guys, if we fix a few details here, we're close. You played this game. How dangerous is that? Because players have BS detectors too, and they have an idea how close they are or aren't. Is he in danger of losing this thing here if this next 2 games goes poorly?
Well, it's September 27th. It's early. Look, yes, you're always in danger. I mean, you lose to Denver, who's coming off the worst defeat any team has seen in recent memory. Like, they're a defeated team. And I think Kansas City might have been able to put up 70 myself if they really wanted to, the way that they were playing. But regardless, I mean, you got a Denver team that's just really limping. I mean, Sean Payton might be giving them that message. I doubt he is, that we're close, because they don't look close. And Chicago doesn't look close. The world champions looked like the world champions. And then it looked like there was like a whole new level of football when you look at what the Bears are doing. Because they got beat at every position. They got beat. The receivers got punked all day by L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. I mean, it was embarrassing. Mm-hmm. They couldn't get off the line of scrimmage. You get knocked to the ground. They couldn't catch the ball when they did get 2 hands on it. But to say that we're close, you need a win. That's the only way that message can resonate, period. And if it's against Denver, another 0-3 team that's playing good offensive football at times, if that's the message, then you have to come away with the win. We know what the losing streak is going back to last year. They need a win. They just got to change just the taste in your mouth right now in that locker room. And that might resonate a little bit better with the players.
Baldy, do you think that Matt Eberflus is missing an opportunity by naming himself the play caller? Like, it would have been really unorthodox and not ideal, but you could have gone outside the organization right now, brought in a defensive coordinator, said, handle this, do whatever you think is right. I'm turning it over to you. I don't know who that guy would be. There's a bunch of names out there. But would you, if you were him, if you were advising him, would you say, hey, take it over in addition to being a head coach when you've won 3 games and now, a year and a third? Or, there's a no win there, but what would you have said to do?
Well, I wouldn't have done that. I mean, it's too hard to bring somebody from the outside in to learn your personnel, figure out who does what well. What's Tyreek Stevenson at this point? What's Jalen Johnson? I mean, it's just too hard to do that right now. It's Matt's defense. Like, he should know this defense inside and out. I think he does. But, the defense needs tweaking right now. And that's Matt's job. That's Matt's job to, really give these guys a better chance to be successful. The players are running the defense. They're executing what's being called. It's just not, it looks ugly right now. And so I would say I wouldn't have gone outside the organization to answer your question. I'd say, Matt, you got to double up your duties. You got to fix this defense. You got to make some adjustments. You got to dial up some calls that you don't really like doing. But, for example, like they brought in Tremaine Edmonds, and one of the reasons why they brought Tremaine in is they want to run a version of Tampa 2. All right. And they want a big, an Urlacher, a big, tall guy that can run, that can really clog the middle of the field, open up to the tight end or the number 3 receiver. And they could take that throw away and widen the corners. You basically play a 3 deep coverage. All right. Well, the Chiefs just hit them underneath that. Like, it was wide open, and Mahomes isn't going to miss. So, that's not a great – Tampa 2 isn't a great defense against the Chiefs. It probably won't be against Russell Wilson either. So what you had plans to do because maybe you thought the front 4 would be better, you might have to scrap that if you're Matt. And,
Yep. Creativity, let's go.
Yeah, creativity. Moving over to the offensive side of the ball, I didn't think Justin Fields picked the best week to be like, okay, I'm going to do things my way, knowing the Chiefs were coming and a potential, the eventual beatdown was coming. Was there anything that stood out to you in that game, in this iteration of Justin Fields wanting to maneuver the offense a little more under what he wants to do? Was there any positive signs from that drubbing that you can find for us, please?
Well, I don't think Justin just went out there and was going to play street ball. The Chiefs, to me, are the best defense in football. Like, you can say Cleveland's got the number one rating or Dallas or what. They're the best. They're the most complete defense. Their two corners will just lock you up. McDuffie and Snead can run with anybody. They completely locked up the receiver. So if you want to run on 3rd and 4, on the opening third down of the game, a bunch formation, and you're gonna motion to the bunch, okay? And then you're gonna break out and somebody's gonna win the one-on-one, and nobody wins. I don't know what Justin Fields is supposed to do. Like, you couldn't put your American Express credit card in between the defender and the receiver. So what should Justin do? Like, there's a bunch of situations like that. And when he did take deep shots to Claypool and to DJ Moore, the ball hit him in the hands. Like, you got to come up with a catch. And so, or Darnell Mooney, like, they all kind of failed like that. So, I could pick apart plays. Like, Chris Jones is a monster. We just watched him the week before against Jacksonville line up on a rookie tackle in Anton Harrison, and he destroyed him. And one of the reasons why Jacksonville looked awful on offense. And Jacksonville never adjusted in the game. Kind of mind-boggling. So now you get Darnell Wright. And Darnell's doing some really good things in the run game. But you put Chris Jones out there with no help. But then you put Cole Kmet over here to help out against, Karlaftis. And you go, what? Why would you do that? Why would you double Karlaftis and leave your rookie tackle here on Chris Jones? Everybody knows he was the best defensive lineman in football last year. Like, that's just game planning. Like, you can't let Darnell one-on-one like that with the double team over here. Like, just game planning things. So, yes, you can say, it wasn't a good idea for Justin to do what he did. And it wasn't. Like, he should have walked in, to the offense coordinator's office on Tuesday and aired it out. But he chose Wednesday, and that was a mistake on his part. But at the same time, there's just pieces of the game plan that you just got to be better at that, because the Chiefs don't make mistakes. And they can beat you any number of ways. They beat you with speed, with blitzing, pressures, man coverage, like, you name it. They've got talented players and a really good scheme. And they don't make mistakes. So you can't make mistakes when you try to execute certain plays.
So, all right. I think we're all in agreement that last week was a bad week to have to play the Kansas City Chiefs. This week, you at least get a team that just gave up 70 points, which is incredible to think about. We haven't quite switched our focus from this Bears disaster and the opportunity to beat the Broncos this week, but I'm sure you've looked at the Broncos more than we have at this point. Was last week's 70-point allowance just a total credit to what Miami's doing, or are they in shambles right now in Denver, and is this an opportunity that the Bears could actually get right on offense, which they badly need?
Well, the game was a track meet from the beginning, and Denver kept up for the first quarter and a half. And then they turned the ball over, and Miami, scored. They got the ball at the 4 and at the 8-yard line. They scored touchdowns on both those drives. Like, it got away from them very fast. But, this Marvin Mims, he got behind Miami's defense a couple of times, and Cortland Sutton dropped a touchdown pass, and they had another touchdown called back because of offensive pass interference, some lack of details. They do certain things real well on offense, and Russell's playing pretty good. He's been hit 26 times in the last 2 games. And a lot of that is, he just likes to move and get outside the pocket. When he does, he's getting hit a lot. But the offensive move defensively, they lost Justin Simmons, their Pro Bowl safety. They had a young guy in there playing. That's not the excuse. I mean, honestly, Mike McDaniel's offense is just like, if you hesitate, Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert, like, they're by you. They just run right by you, and they ran for 350 yards. Like, that will never happen again, I don't think, to Denver. But, the motions and the shifts really bothered that team. And Mike McDaniels, I mean, hell, they ran toss crack 3 times on one drive all the way down the field, and they scored a touchdown on the exact same play, and they couldn't defend the play. So something tells me they're not communicating and they're not adjusting on that side of the ball. And, they could not affect Tua at all throughout the game. The play action passes, the movement, the motions, it just destroyed them. But they're not terrible personnel-wise, but they look like between the heat and just the track meet they were in, it just wore them down so fast.
Baldy, I want to go back and just make you're officially the general manager of this show, and so I'm going to make you the GM of the Bears too. For everything you're naming, this doesn't look right. That seems like it needs to be changed. Would you be sitting there if you were the Bears general manager thinking, well, geez, I have no choice but to eventually, not tomorrow, but if it keeps going like this, I need to make a coaching change?
Yeah, I think it's too early to do that right now. And coaching changes, especially if you hire from within. I don't think Luke Getsy's ready for this. I don't know who you would elevate at this point. I really don't know on the staff. But that looks like a real stretch. I mean, if I could undo things, okay, if I could just go backwards in time, go in a time machine, I would have. I mean, this is me, but I would never have let Raquan Smith get out of the building. I'd play him and Jack Sanborn at my linebacker, and I'd take all the money you spent on T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, and I would have found myself an elite pass rusher. Like that, I would have done that because Raquan is an all-world linebacker, all-world character. Like, I wouldn't have let him leave. He's a natural leader. He's an amazing player. Like, I would have, if I could undo things, I would have done that, and I would have drafted Jalen Carter. I just would have done that.
Yeah. Well, there we have it.
Well, that was a lot of pain.
But that's not fair. That's not fair to the guys. I'm looking in the rear mirror.
No, Baldy, trust me, you got a lot of people here that agree with literally everything you just said. The amount of times we were screaming last year that Roquan and Sanborn never got to play together because they didn't put Sanborn in there until after they traded Roquan. Like, how you never even looked at that combination, it just blew my mind. You never looked at it.
I've been saying it for years, but if you want linebackers, just go to Wisconsin. Just go, across the state to Madison. Like, they're all there. The linebackers coming out of Wisconsin are unreal. They had another one this year, Nick Herbig. He's in Pittsburgh now. He's a good player. Like, Jack Sanborn, TJ, like, they all know how to play. However they cross-train those kids, they all know how to find the ball. And they all make something happen, just like Jack did last week.
I got my nuclear.
I would have liked to see that combination. I'd like to see them play together.
100%.
Don't worry, Baldy. I'm a Badger. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's mind-boggling.
All right. I didn't know the alma mater's there.
Yeah. Baldy, I got a nuclear offensive option for the Bears, and that is to play 2 quarterbacks. Let's see what you got in Tyson. Let's not completely bury Justin. Let's lean into his strengths. Let's see if having another guy running out there just whatever.
Carl, we were having such a good interview here.
No, he's Baldy. I did not see a complete that's a complete crazy idea when I first floated it. Am I right? You see where I'm perhaps going with this idea.
How do you want to? How would the rotation go? What are you rotating for?
How would the rotation go? Listen, I don't know who's starting.
He wants the Taysom Hill package.
I want some level of you're an upper level Taysom Hill. I want to get creative with him. I want him. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. I would throw it to him. I would do all sorts of things with this elite talent and see if you can unlock something with his offense that is just completely broken right now. That if you keep doing the same thing, I'm going to bet that it never gets right. So why not just go completely off the board here and in the same process of that, maybe you actually save yourself and your job if you're the coaching staff.
Yeah, but you can't worry about saving your job. Like, you just have to coach. Like, whatever decisions the McCaskies make or general manager makes, whatever that, you live with those decisions. But you can't coach to save your job. And the quarterback is already seemingly pretty fragile. Like, I can't imagine if you started rotating for whatever reason. Like, Drew Brees was fine with Taysom Hill coming in. He was all on board, but Sean Payton was the coach too. So you got a proven coach saying, I love this kid. And he knew him. He knew the kid coming out of BYU, followed him at Green Bay. Like, he had the role for him right away. And your Hall of Fame quarterback was on board with it. And he was a Hall of Fame quarterback. So I still question, like, putting Drew Brees at wide receiver and putting Taysom at quarterback to throw it. Still never made any sense to me. Like, you got the most accurate quarterback in the history of the football playing wide receiver, and you're going to put the ball in Taysom. Like, I kind of questioned some of it along the way, but they had some success with it. So, like, success sort of is the best deodorant for all this stuff.
Baldy, we really appreciate it. It's good talking to you again this week. And, next week's going to be a quick week.
What are you guys calling this game this week? I mean, it's week 4, but it's Denver and Chicago. What are you calling this? I mean, you're not giving it the toilet bowl game name, is it? Like, what are you calling it?
Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. I like that. That's good.
I mean, you lose this one.
I think that's a good call.
Yeah, Judgment Day is good. We got a little rivalry going on with our friends at DNVR. You talk to them too, and we got to
right after this. Like,
yeah,
I'm literally going to get off this podcast with you, and I'm going to jump on DNVR right now.
Well, I jokingly had a paper bag on my head for the post-game show, and I think the loser of this game, either side, has to wear the paper bag for the rest of the year.
That's good. I like that. But what I always wanted to know, and I'm at NFL Film, so I remember all of the videos and things they did about disappointing fans, and like, what's worse than putting a paper bag? Like, not even cutting the eyes out, just keeping the bag on. Like, what's the worst? What's worse after the paper bag?
I think
Plastic.
that's definitely the lowest moment for me as a fan. But we laugh to keep ourselves from crying, Baldy.
I understand. Yeah. I understand. Football should be king in Chicago, and it's not delivering right now. So I get the level of disappointment.
All right. Well, Baldy, have fun with our friends over at DNVR, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, you got it, guys. Take care. See you.
All right.
Thanks, Brian.
There he is, Brian Baldinger.